Good evening, good morning, good night, good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome once more. Today the topic is my relationship with the colour pink, sparked by an observation I made today. Look, there's some pinkness over there in the distance, and I was like, what is it? I'd spotted these trees as I walked around the city the last few days and was like, oh, I don't want to photograph it. It's too obvious that it's some sort of spectacle. But today I just couldn't resist it. That was some closer investigation. So I look at it there and I'm like, wow, like that's essentially covering the space where the earth would be. What's going on? I look up and it's a tree. It's all from that tree. Now, where I'm from in Scotland, Inverurie, it's a town in Aberdeenshire of maybe closer to 15,000 people now. There are cherry blossom trees. I've seen them. But the difference here is these aren't your normal flower petals. When you see cherry blossom trees, unless it's from a distance, when you see cherry blossom petals on the ground, you just know it's petals, like it's visibly petal shaped, if there is a standardized petal. These, because they look kind of like pine needles but pink, they sit on the ground as if they're just part of the soil. And so I was trying to capture that. Also picked out some of the pink plants over there. Yeah. I found another spot in the city which had this tree on my walk home, and I decided to up the brightness on my camera to try and capture more pinkness because it was in the shade. This is when I was trying to create this sort of idea that the soil is basically just pink. So I was deliberately cropping in any of the background so that the viewer would get that idea. And some other later photographs. And that one. The interesting thing there is that it looks like an iguana or a lizard up there in the top. At the top. So that's what sparked it. And it got me thinking, man, like it made me think of this guy, Richard Mosse, who photographed with infrared film in the Congo in 2010. And obviously the infrared film, this is how it treats green. So it's kind of the inverse of what I observed. This is how it treats the green landscape. But equally that could be a covering of petals, hypothetically. So it sparked that, and it got me thinking about film photography again. And I thought, here are some images that I took using expired film and how that pulls out. It can be more bluey or more pinky or reddy, orangey, yellowy. It pulls out different tones, and so these photographs have like a sort of warmer pinkish quality, which I don't know if you can really see here, but they do, I promise. I don't think compared to my pinkiness, it's not pinky, but compared to a blank sheet of white paper, it's kind of pinky. And then this is pink as the sort of subject matter, pink as the subject. This was a long exposure film shot that I took of some lights. And pink walls behind this portrait. And then a decaying pink wall that I took in Palermo. Pink as a design choice, like as your base for this, obviously being a hat. That's pink. That's a pinky peachy t-shirt that I have on. And so it's interesting for me to look back and think about my relationship with pink and how I tend to include it or gravitate towards it in many ways. It's quite fun to look back through everything. That's a salmon pink paper stock. So is that. Pink as the degradation of orange or red. This is a photograph I took in Leipzig. Obviously a withdrawn library stamp. And some washed up fluorescent orangey stuff on the beach. Sun bleached, so it kind of makes it seem pinky. To me. Also looks like a pig. A pink pig. Pink as I've used it in my art. Pink, pink. Pinky, pink, pink. And then this was, it's not in the wrong order. Let's do this. Here we go. I just came across this photograph that I took in China. China. And I wanted to see what it would be like pink. And so I used, where is it? There it is. And then I got obsessed with pink and I was like, oh, pink eye. Like, it looks like I've got a bit of redness in my eye. I didn't actually have pink eye, but I have a pinky eye there. I was like, okay, how do I combine the pink eye with the dog? So that's the pink eye dog. And then I was like, I just flipped that Palermo wall photograph and decided to layer that over. And that became, so that's how I layered it over. And then I was like, candy floss. So I used the inverse on that and turned the dog into some candy floss. And that's my relationship with pink, everybody. Tune in next time for another relationship with another color. Goodbye.